Hey, it's me, Destin. Welcome back to Smarter Every Day. In a previous episode of Smarter Every Day, we started a deep dive series into how to land on the moon by going back in history to find out how we trained the Apollo astronauts to actually pilot the spacecraft down to the surface of the moon on the lunar landing mission. We talked about the challenges of maneuvering a spacecraft in the 1.6G environment on the surface of the moon versus here on Earth, which is at 1G. Although it doesn't seem like a big deal, this difference in the gravitational pull of Earth versus moon creates all different kinds of strange control problems for the spacecraft. To get used to this, astronauts trained at several different facilities, such as the Lunar Lander Research Facility, and ultimately the pilots of the Apollo program said their best training method they had at their disposal was the LLTV, or the Lunar Landing Training Vehicle. So when Neil Armstrong was descending to land on the lunar surface, he was running an algorithm in his head that he developed as a result of flying the Lunar Lander test vehicle. That's interesting, but think about this. If you had to do the whole thing again today with today's technology, would you do that? Would you put humans on a lander system like this and make them fly? Or, let me propose something else. What if you were to create a robotic test vehicle that you could load different software loads on there and you could practice landing that thing over and over if you had a way of simulating lunar gravity on Earth? I ask that because that's exactly what my buddy Logan did. He works at NASA. What was this program called again?
It's called the Mighty Eagle program.
The Mighty Eagle. Okay, and my understanding is it was just trying to get ready to land on the moon, right?
Yep, this was a program in the early 2010s where we used small robotic landers like this to test out algorithms and sensors we would use on a lunar mission.
Got it. And there was a crawl, walk, run strategy to the Mighty Eagle, as I recall, right?
Yes.
So what was the crawl phase?
So the very first part was a lander called the Cold Gas Test Article, and that was designed and built in just 9 months, and it used compressed air to get about 10 seconds of flight time. And we used that got over 100 flights, and we used that to test out and learn how to fly a vehicle, and it was very successful.
What was it like the first time seeing that thing fly?
Loud.
Did it freak you out a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
Was it cool though?
Very cool.
Okay, so once you start popping these thrusters, and it's a blowdown system, right? Once you start hovering that thing, you're starting to develop the control algorithm, right? Okay, so from there, that was successful and awesome. Fast forward, and you took me to the Mighty Eagle, right? This was the walk phase.
Yep.
So what's different about Mighty Eagle?
So instead of compressed air, Mighty Eagle used 90% hydrogen peroxide as fuel in these two tanks here. And with peroxide, you just flow that over a catalyst bed and you get thrust out of it. Okay,
the cool thing about peroxide is that it is a green fuel, meaning it's good for the environment and safety officers don't freak out when you spill it everywhere, right?
If you just dilute it with enough water, you can just pour it in the ground. It's not hydrazine or anything toxic or dangerous.
Okay, cool. So the magic of YouTube allows us to go back in time, and the way we're going to do that is through this time machine, otherwise known as a hard drive, because in 2013 you actually invited me out to a Mighty Eagle test. We've never published this footage. It sports you in a super sweet beard and mustache. It was pretty amazing, I'm going to be honest.
Amazing is one word.
Yeah, I'm sure your wife's going to love this. So the point here is you were doing the walk phase. What is the purpose of the test that we're about to watch from way back in the day?
So whenever we change something on the vehicle or try to try something new, we would always start with a tethered test. And so it was attached to the ground from below, and it would be a very short test. And if we were successful with that test, we would remove the tethers and do a free flight after that.
Okay, so let's go back in time to 2013 and let's watch a Mighty Eagle test, and I will let Logan with the facial hair explain how exactly we take out 5/6 of Earth's gravity in order to actually simulate lunar gravity during this test. All right, this is it. This is called the Mighty Eagle, and this is basically a lander test bed. You can load different types of software onto it and test your software before you're actually working with the real hardware, but we're on Earth's gravity. So how do we take that into account? This test of the Mighty Eagle test vehicle is occurring at Marshall Space Flight Center located at Redstone Arsenal, Alabama. Okay, they've got it out of the trailer now. Now we have to get it over to the pad. That's where we're gonna actually launch the thing. So we have to get it over there safely without damaging anything, which is another routine in itself. So Kevin, you got 3 lifting points?
Yes sir, I've got where these red tags are. This is where lift points are all the way around.
So how much does it weigh?
About 450 pounds empty, 700 pounds when it's full.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So the propellant mass fraction, that's pretty,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
It's a third.
All right, Logan, what are you doing?
Hooking up the tethers.
Yeah.
Don't want this thing to fly away, so put a tether right there on the foot pad. And we bolt it to the ground. We got these really cool energy releasing thing called soft stops. If you like jump off a building, it has a bunch of sewn nylon.
It's like a dampener?
It's like a dampener, yeah.
Huh.
So in case it does pull on it, which it's never done before, but in case it does, it'll take out a lot of energy, and then it'll hit this steel cable at the end.
Basically, if this cable ever gets tight, then that's going to input information into the motion control that it's not expecting, and it's just going to go haywire.
It's not good. If you pull a tether, it's not good. So we don't want it to go crazy, and so we got these really nice tether system to hold it down.
Okay, let me explain this. This is a robotic test bed that's a lander basically, and it's used to test software, right, Logan?
That's correct.
All right, so this is, my understanding is this is a monoprop blowdown system, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
All right, so is this our, I'm assuming this is our nitrogen up top.
Here's our nitrogen. So we got two basically scuba tanks up here. They end up about 3,000 psi during flight.
Okay.
And then that goes through a regulator that regulates it down to about 700, 800 psi.
So this is just what we call our pressurant.
Pressurant, right?
Okay, gotcha.
And then our propellant is in here. It's 90% hydrogen peroxide.
So what's the difference in this hydrogen peroxide and what you have at home?
What you have at home is 3% pure. This is 90% pure.
Gotcha.
This will hurt you.
Yeah, this will blow you up, right?
It'll melt to your face.
Anything organic. Okay, gotcha. So do we have a bladder in here?
No, it's just it's a metal liner, and it's carbon fiber overwrapped. And then carbon fiber and peroxide don't get along, so that's why we have these wraps on top of them to prevent.
So we just have, I think that the gas inside of a pressurant tank like this is called ullage, I believe.
Yep.
And so that ullage, is that just on top of the liquid, and there's no interface there? There's no piston or anything?
There's no piston. It's just the nitrogen pushing on the peroxide.
Gotcha. Okay, I see.
Real simple, real lightweight. And so we got the peroxide in here. Today we're going to have about 42 kilograms in there. Our max load is about 116 kilograms.
Wow.
So it's a pretty, not a full flight because we're only doing a short flight.
So it's a light load.
Light load.
Yeah.
And you push the peroxide out of the tanks, it goes under the deck, and it comes out the thrusters.
And man, I noticed you had some DI water over here. Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Now, what was that for?
Thrusters for flushing out our pump, anything like that, or anything we wipe with, we'll put it in there so it don't.
So you have to use pure water to mess around with the H2O2, so you don't flash.
Right.
Got it. All right, show me what we got here.
So under here, our big thruster here, we call it the EGC, the Earth Gravity Canceling Thruster. When we originally designed this lander, we wanted to simulate lunar gravity, and the lunar gravity is 1/6 of the Earth's gravity. So we have this thruster that throttles, and it continually offsets 5/6 of the vehicle's weight. So if the vehicle weighs 600 pounds, it's thrusting at 500 pounds, so the vehicle thinks it only weighs 100.
Gotcha. And so that's straight through the center of gravity of the vehicle.
As best as we can get it, yep.
Okay, now that makes sense. So if you wanted to swap up and instead of landing on the moon, you wanted to land on Mars, you could just change how much thrust you've got through the EGC, or the Earth Gravity Canceling Thruster. That makes sense? We're just blowing hydrogen peroxide down through what?
So we have a catalyst bed.
It's not a nozzle. It's not just a pure nozzle. It has a catalyst bed.
It has a catalyst bed, yeah. Peroxide doesn't get along with a lot of things, and one of the things it really doesn't get along with is silver. So inside each of our thrusters, here's one right here.
This is a thruster?
This is a thruster here. This is one of our descent thrusters. We have a catalyst pack that's got silver and nickel screens overlapping. It's about this much.
Like up in there?
Up in here, yep. Right in there.
And so when you blow hydrogen peroxide across that screen, it reacts.
It reacts. It decomposes rapidly, and you get pressure and temperature, and we put that out the nozzle here, and you get thrust.
Okay, so it's like steam?
It's basically steam. It's water and oxygen.
Yeah, so basically the point of using this is it's a green propellant, right?
Green propellant, yep.
That's awesome.
If you dilute it enough, you can just dump it in the ground.
So how do you, like if that's just holding it, basically we're simulating lunar gravity by taking 5/6 of the Earth's gravity away, how do we translate and rotate? Now obviously you have to have thrusters away from the center of gravity, right? That's what these are?
Yeah, so we have 3 different classes of thrusters. We have the Earth Gravity Canceling Thruster under the middle. We have 3 what we call descent thrusters that are here, and they're responsible for the ascent and descent of the vehicle.
1, 2, 3.
We got 3 of them, yep.
Okay.
And
That's
so
actually what does the lifting.
That's right. So the EGC throttles, but these here are called pulse thrusters. They're bang bang. They're either on or they're off.
Okay.
And so the vehicles they're hovering, you'll see them pulsing on and off to go send, or they'll pulse less to go down. And you'll
So
hear
it's
them
like,
go. Yeah, they're a little bit slower. They'll be like psh, psh, psh,
okay,
psh, to go up and down.
got it. All right.
And then the other class of thrusters are these right here. These are called the ACS, or Attitude Control System thrusters.
Yep.
They're about 10 pounds of thrust, and they're responsible for the orientation of the vehicle. We have 12 of them. We have 4.
So that makes sense that they're far away from the center of gravity.
Right. The more torque, the more you can control. Yeah. And we have 4 that point down on the bottom deck.
Yep.
There's one of them. There's another one.
Yep.
We got 4 that point up.
Yep.
On the top deck. And we got 4 that point laterally for roll control.
Gotcha.
So the ones that point laterally.
So you got 2 pointing in this direction, and you have 2 pointing in that direction.
Right. So with that we can spin.
You can rotate.
And the other ones are responsible for pitch and yaw.
Gotcha. So give me your coordinate system here. So this is X, right?
X is up.
Yep.
Plus Y is we call the battery side. So it's right there. They're the batteries.
And then Z would be coming to me.
This way through this leg.
Right hand rule. Okay, got it. Awesome. So I understand the main ones on the bottom. You said there's 3 or 4 of these. There's 3. That's what's picking you up and letting you down.
Yep.
This is what's spinning you.
Yep.
And this is attitude control thruster here.
Yep.
But what's the inner ear? So like that tells you, that's the ability to move, but this has to have an inner ear to see where it's at, right?
So that's our IMU, our inertial measurement unit, and that's this right here. It's got accelerometers and gyroscopes in it. We got one for each axis, X, Y, and Z. And so it can sense the acceleration and the movement of the vehicle. So if we move like this, it knows it and it sends a command to right our vehicle.
Gotcha. So this is the inner ear of the vehicle.
Correct.
So this is the inner ear, and these are the ways, this is the thruster that helps you go up and down. This is the attitude control thruster. So all these are controlled independently.
Correct.
Cool.
The throttle for the EGC is over here.
Yeah.
Now look at that.
And it's the only thruster that's variable, right?
Correct. The rest of them are all bang bang. They're all pulsed thrusters. You have the fuel running through here. It goes down. The actual throttle is in there. And then we actually use a smart motor here for like an animatronics, like a dinosaur, to control the throttle here.
What do you mean a dinosaur?
You know a dinosaur, those animatronic dinosaurs?
Oh, gotcha, gotcha, I see.
It's just a little smart motor from that. And you can see the throttle would move from here to here. These are our 2 limit switches. Here's all the way closed, here's all the way open.
I see.
And that's the only thing that moves on the vehicle.
And so how much gravity you're taking away depends on where this actuator is, and that's the valve right there.
Yep.
So the further back this way, the more open the valve is.
And the more thrust you get.
The more thrust you get.
Yep.
Got it. So the more gravity you're taking away.
Correct.
And so the further that way you go, the more closed the valve is. So that's more of Earth's gravity that the vehicle will see.
And the vehicle knows how much fuel it's burning, and so it adjusts the throttle based on that.
How does it know that? Does it have a flow meter in there or something?
It knows, it has an approximation for how much fuel is used every time you turn a thruster on.
Yeah.
And it knows how many times it's actually used the thruster.
Oh, so the vehicle has to, because you're burning fuel, the vehicle has to adjust its algorithm during the flight.
Yeah, it can't be a constant thrust. It has to start off more thrust, and as we use more fuel, you throttle less and less.
Nice. So let me run you through it. Let me see if you explained it to me well.
Okay.
So I have the EGC, the Earth gravity canceling thruster straight in the middle.
Yep.
And then I have these, which are what lift me and lower me. There's 3 of them. What are they called?
Descent thrusters.
Descent thrusters. Okay. And then I have up here, this is how I control my roll around the x-axis.
Yep.
I've got one here, one here, one there, one there. So a total of 4.
Yep.
And then I have these, which are attitude control thrusters. I have 4 there pointing up, and I also have 4 pointing down, which are right here.
That's correct.
Is that right? And the idea is to get those as far away from the center of gravity of the vehicle as possible so you can induce more roll and translation.
More torque, the better.
Well, I guess not translation, just the torque. Yeah, like you say. All right, so what's the deal today? We're going to go how high off the ground?
0.8 meters.
So it's not going to be super high.
It's not going to be super high. We got a new control system on here, so we have it tethered to the ground, which you can see here. And we're going to see what happens.
All right. So we're not actually going to jerk it like a leash, though, are we?
No, those are there just in case something goes wrong. If everything goes right, they should just extend a little bit, and they shouldn't pull on any of the tethers. If you pull a tether, that'd be a bad day.
Because that gives you more inputs into the control algorithm than you want, right?
It's a disturbance torque, yeah.
What was it? You're the guidance and control guy. What'd you call it?
Oh, introduce an attitude disturbance into the vehicle.
Introducing an attitude disturbance. I have to do that with my kids every once in a while. Introduce an attitude disturbance.
Once the vehicle was positioned and ready for test, we got ready by going to the blockhouse, which is a concrete area where everything would be controlled from. The countdown to flight is a long structured coordination between different team members. For example, there are technicians out on the pad fueling up the vehicle and getting everything ready for flight. But inside the blockhouse, you've got engineers who are carefully monitoring every aspect of the system, getting everything ready to go. This process is scripted scripted down to every minute detail, which is carefully choreographed, such as the safe and arm keys, which are put into the arm box. Also, you have to make sure everyone around the facility knows what's about to take place.
This is NASA lunar lander. We are getting airspace. We T-minus 1 hour for flight.
Okay, this is the final check before they do the launch.
All right, go, no go. Dat?
That is go.
Command? Go. LSC?
Go.
Red crew? Go. Flight manager?
Flight manager's go.
MTC's a go. Attention all personnel, the WGTA pad has been evacuated and the time is X minus 3 minutes. After the test, only the designated crew will return to the firing site. Alright, install completion plug and enable has A. Ground system time.
He's about to arc the lander.
113-318-19:47:23.
Into prop tank feet press.
N2 prop tank speed press is 744.
Okay, issue command. VSM requested state to pre-flight.
Copy, going to pre-flight.
VSM vehicle state is pre-flight. The system is pressurizing.
I'll call about 3 times.
N2 tanks are at 2100. Prop tanks are at 500 and rising. Prop tanks are at 760 and holding. Prop ISO is open. Thruster speed press reading 750. Pressures and temps look good. Vehicle has landed.
Yes.
Vehicle has landed.
Okay, cool. So tethered test works. That thing was just hovering, but I mean, that wasn't like incredibly impressive, right? We went up and we went down. What did you learn in doing that?
So for that test, we knew that the new software load or the new hardware that we were on the vehicle was safe, and so we knew we could go on to the more complex hazard avoidance testing.
Okay, and I didn't actually go to that test, but I heard about it and I saw the footage. So what is this test that we're about to watch here?
So hazard avoidance is hard. You know that Neil Armstrong had to avoid some hazards, some craters when he landed on Apollo 11. But if you were to do that robotically, you would need something very small and very lightweight to do that. And so we had a low swap sensor, so size, weight, and power. And we built a very specific custom terrain field. We shipped a very specific volcanic ash from a crater all the way from Arizona, all the way to Marshall. And we flew over that field, which had craters and boulders in it, and it used that onboard sensor to avoid hazards. The sensor was just 2 cameras, so just like with your eyes you can see 3 dimensions, this camera could see 3 dimensions, and it would fly over the field and find a safe place to land.
What was the maximum altitude you got with Mighty Eagle?
About 50 meters. For this test, it was about 30 meters, but 50 meters is what we did.
For something that's hundreds of pounds, that's pretty serious.
It was fun.
That's pretty legit. Okay, sweet. So this is the test of the hazard avoidance system.
Prop ISO is open. Showing 719. Burp sequence. We are still green.
And we have temperature increase on all 3 thrusters.
GCB is aligning. We're in countdown. Descending 30 meters. Holding. Vehicle translating while descending. Vehicle should be exiting the lunar field. Vehicle should be landing. Vehicle is declared landed.
Set ground station limits, pre-post test limits.
So the Mighty Eagle was awesome. The question is, was it successful?
Absolutely.
Why?
So we tested the algorithms and the sensors that we would use on a lunar mission, and more importantly, we developed that subject matter expertise that we just haven't had for a while. We haven't soft-flighted anything on the moon since the 70s, and since we're going back to the moon today, all the same people that worked on the Mighty Eagle and on all the other landers that were going on at the time and since then all still work in the lunar business.
So it's like a scientific flywheel you have to spin up. Like everybody that did the landers to begin with, they retired, but now you've got new engineers and scientists that have to understand all the physics involved with landing softly on a surface. That's amazing. And so that was the whole point.
Yep.
But my understanding is that's not the only program like this. There was also Morpheus that was developed at Johnson Space Center, right? Tested where?
Started at Johnson and then did their big flights at Kennedy.
So how was Morpheus, which was a different lander system, different than Mighty Eagle?
They didn't have an Earth gravity canceling thruster. They had different propellant. They had different sensors that they were testing. Same general concept, but theirs was more applicable to a human lander, and ours was more applicable to robotic landing.
Got it. But that flywheel was still getting spun up.
It's all lander expertise, all lander people. Yep.
So are you guys all working together now, or what's going on?
Yeah, so since 2013, when these tests were happening, all the teams kind of congealed together, and we've worked on a number of landers and lander technology since then, up until today.
This is rolling into Artemis in some way, right?
Right.
What is the new component of Artemis that does this sort of stuff?
Right, so Artemis is the program to go back to the moon, and the lander part is called the Human Landing System, or HLS.
And you're actually a part of that team.
I am.
And we're not going to talk about that right now because that's a bridge too far for this video. Okay, I got Logan out of the room because I want to say something that has nothing to do with NASA. This is Destin talking, not NASA, nothing like that. Okay, here's my question. If we now have the ability to load software on a lander and test that software out and over, we get to test it. Should we do that? Should that be how we, quote, train to land on the moon? Or should we do what happened in the 60s with the Lunar Lander Test Vehicle? I can say this. If you think about like flight test engineering, if you have ever heard of Cooper Harper, that's a measure of how difficult it is to perform a task. Back in the day when you had the Apollo astronauts flying the LLTV, it was a pretty complicated thing to do. They were task saturated at any moment, right? But now we have improved SAS, Stability Augmentation Control Systems. I think it would be easier for us to do a lot of the landing with software. However, I don't think we should. If you think about it, at some point, if you don't trust the software, you need a human to be able to like say, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do what I'm doing because I'm making decisions real time. I'm in the seat. So when she's landing on the moon, this Artemis astronaut, whoever she is, as she's descending, I think that pilot needs to have experience in the seat. They need to have stick time flying a lander down to the surface of the moon in 1/6 G, 1.625 meters per second squared. And I don't know, I just feel pretty strongly about this. I feel like this is something that needs to happen, which is why I'm excited that I found something on the internet. NASA put out an RFI, a request for information about how to build a new lunar lander test vehicle. We have different technology now. Maybe we could do something like this with drones and propellers instead of just a jet engine. I don't know, but I know we need a way to simulate landing a vehicle in a 1/6 G environment because the angles change, everything changes. The beauty of having a software test bed like the Mighty Eagle or Morpheus is that you can prove out your control algorithms before you get the humans in the loop. And yes, it might be great to hopefully have a system that's Cooper Harper 1. It's so simple that you can just land by pushing a button. But at the same time, you do have to have the ability to human override if stuff goes sideways. I love solving problems like this. A software test bed that will ultimately augment a human decision in a very real-time, up-tempo environment. I think there's a place for software landers. I also think there's a place for human-controlled landers. I just wanted to create this video to open up the question about what the future LLTV should look like because we're going back to the moon and it's time to start building the thing. Would you like to see a sneak peek of an upcoming video of Smarter Every Day? I think I'm really excited about it. I'll tell you that much. So here's the deal. I'm going to tell you about the sponsor and then I'm going to show you what's behind you, the camera here. The sponsor for this episode of Smarter Every Day is KiwiCo, and KiwiCo is amazing. In fact, KiwiCo did not advertise on YouTube, to my knowledge, before I reached out and I was like, can I please work with you on Smarter Every Day, because I love what you do. And the first video I ever did that on, way back in the day, my kids were like little. I love KiwiCo, and you will too. It's a subscription box. They send kits to your house with everything needed to do a fascinating brain journey for your children every single time. It never fails to please at the Sandlin house. You will love it. To show KiwiCo that you came from Smarter Every Day, please consider going to kiwico.com/smarter50. That gets you 50% off the first month. You can choose from a variety of different kits, and it doesn't matter what country you live in. They deliver now to over 40 different countries. Check it out. These things are amazing. The other day, sat down 2 KiwiCo boxes and just waited. Within minutes, my son started building the planetarium and my daughter started building a hat with a maker crate. They love these things. You will too. Go check them out. kiwico.com/smarter50. The whole idea here is small things end up becoming big things. Like if you learn these small principles today as a kid, you will eventually make big changes in the world, and that's what it's all about. It's fantastic. I love KiwiCo. You will too. kiwico.com/smarter50. You will love it. I will now reveal what's going on behind me. You probably figured it out already. This is an upcoming video of Smarter Every Day, and I think you will love it. The Lunar Lander series is what I'm really excited about, but I don't know what videos we're gonna make because I'm waiting for people, we're having to communicate and figure out if I can do certain videos, but check this out. Yeah, you're smart. You know what's about to happen. Please consider subscribing to Smarter Every Day because that's gonna be amazing, and I think you will really enjoy it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching Smarter Every Day. I am grateful. I'm extra special grateful to everyone who supports Smarter Every Day on Patreon. It's a really big deal, and I'm thankful. So, thank you to the sponsor, KiwiCo, kiwico.com/smarter50. Thank you to the patrons, and thank you for watching this whole thing. Thank you to you for watching this whole thing. You know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I'm Destin. You're getting smarter every day. Have a good one. Bye.